All right, we have made it to Birmingham, Alabama, and we are currently at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute with a special guest. Who are you and what do you do?
My name is Darren Allen. I am president of Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. The Birmingham Alphas, we're the oldest alumni chapter in the state of Alabama.
Awesome. And so, from my understanding, you were born and raised here in Alabama. With our trip being centered on voting, especially with 18 to 25-year-olds, I'm curious, with the Birmingham area specifically, and also the state of Birmingham, how you see voting being executed by 18 to 25-year-olds, and what can the state and the city of Birmingham do better to reach this target demographic?
Wow, that is a tall order, a tall question. I think that is the same across the entire country. But here in Birmingham, of course, we've experienced a number of groundbreaking events to actually push forward the idea of voter education, voter awareness, and voter participation. That's just who we are here in Birmingham, especially being centered here at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. But our chapter in particular, I can only speak for what we're doing and some of the things I've observed. I will say we try and target major events where people are, and I know that everyone has a voter registration drive, and I don't think we have a real issue per se with having voters register. We have an issue with getting voters out to the polls, and what we've tried to do is meet voters where they are. The Magic City Classic, which is the oldest and largest of HBCU football classics, is held here the last weekend of October of every year. Thousands and thousands of people come to Birmingham, so we host blood drives during that week, but we also host voter registration and awareness campaigns before the game and actually at our tailgate at the Magic City Classic. And there were some wondering, well, why? People aren't concerned with voting. Well, people are there. These are some of the people that we would not see in other places. And I think that's one of the keys to really engaging people of all demographics, not just the young. Obviously, we want to target those who are missing. But I think it's so important that you show up where people are. And I think if you take a non-traditional approach in some of those situations, you'll find people will respond more. People don't want you just doing an obligatory voter awareness campaign.
Yeah.
You're standing somewhere where everybody you're talking to is already registered, already voting, probably are doing more with voting than we are. I think people appreciate you stepping outside of your comfort zone and being vulnerable enough to say, listen, you need to vote. Your vote matters. Your vote matters to not just you, it can matter for generations to come.
And I guess to that point, I'm curious for you, why do you vote? Why do you sort of press your way? Obviously, sometimes it can be quote unquote inconvenient to get out, go to your polling area, make sure that you've educated yourself on the candidate. So why do you take the time to do that?
I think you hit on something with the initial question. Growing up in the Birmingham metro area, having heard all of the things that happened to people who wanted to vote, having seen and witnessed my grandparents and others pushing for the vote, and obviously seeing how a slim majority can actually change an entire country, it became important to me to do so. And if those young persons who were being sprayed down with water hoses, and those people who've had food thrown on them at lunch counters and assaulted and assailed with all kind of expletives and the likes, really, my getting up is not that inconvenient. Of course, we can take our right to vote for granted. And now we have a person who's running for office who says he wants to be a dictator. Well, we've taken, and I think that's one of the reasons why this person can get away with so much, because we have become lax in our protections of our own freedoms. We've just assumed that, no one will not leave the White House if they lose. No one would, no person would possibly cry over spilled milk, and nobody would possibly just stand and just lie and say, I won, when they lost. But now here we are. And so it really just highlights how important it is that we make sure that there is no doubt about who won an election when we show up and vote. And even if we don't prevail, the candidate, whomever that person may be, of our choice doesn't prevail, that does not mean that we stop. We still have to have faith in the processes, because otherwise anarchy is just not an option.
Yeah. And I guess to that,
Neither is apathy. Let me make that clear.
There's this thing thrown around about still having faith in the process or hope. I know for me, something that speaks to me all the time is when Barack Obama said, "Yes, we can," and then Michelle Obama was like, "We have to get out every vote. We have to knock on every door." But we also have that coupled with these ideas of what is our vote really doing? We see the polarization, the partisanship that's happening, the gridlock. It feels like nothing is happening for us, and I think our demographic. And there's other things that are spewed. So what do you say to that to provide some encouragement to still engage civically?
Well, there are so many other things that were so seemingly settled. It was settled that we would not participate in voting. It was settled that we were fine with the status quo. It was settled that this is just how things are. Well, if we took that approach to make change back then, it takes that same approach to make change right now. That we're going to continue to do it. People were bashed in, people were beaten, people had doors closed in their faces, homes blown up. All of those things occurred, but they understood that we've got to keep going. And I know the idea that it seems that, well, they are always winning. Well, who are they? At some point, you'll be the they.
Yeah.
And I think we have to have that kind of optimism if we're going to hold out. And I know that, it's not to dismiss youth at all, but certainly in my youth, I was impatient too. I never thought I'd be 30, 40, now 50. Never.
That's still a little young.
Yeah.
Well,
You
whatever
may have
that
cut off a few years.
well, that's where it ends for me. But the idea that, this idea of the one day. Well, one day will be today. And I think it's important for all of us to understand that, life, as I heard my daughter say in jest, Dad, life be lifing.
Life be lifing.
And it just is what it is. Life is going to happen unless you're dead. But as long as you're alive, you have hope. There's a possibility of affecting change. So,
That was deep.
we try.
Switching a little bit away from sort of voting in general, wonder if you could speak to the other hats that you wear in Birmingham. I know you're chapter president, but
For about an hour and a half more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Third term coming to an end.
Third term coming to an end.
Yeah.
But it's been a phenomenal work. And someone said, well, why do people list Alpha Phi Alpha as a job? Well, that's people who work. For those of us who actually engage it, I've spent nearly 30 years in higher education. Worked 4 years at the University of Alabama and 23 years at a local community college. And it was a challenge in a lot of ways, but it was a passion for me. And when I retired from public education, I didn't retire from life. I knew I could invest more time here, but I'm also a pastor. I was a bivocational pastor. Well, now that's what I also do. Still serve the church that I've served for 20 years. Of course, I went there when I was very young, literally. I was 29. But at any rate, I think it's important that we take whatever opportunities we have to engage in every facet of our lives, whether it's in the spiritual realm, whether it's in your social and civic engagement. I believe in being involved, and I've chosen not to take on other roles and responsibilities, job offers and the likes, and send your resume when they call back. You didn't send your resume. No, because you called me, and I really don't. I really like the flexibility of being able to serve wherever I need to serve without having to go to a 9 to 5. So my wife keeps me quite busy. The fraternity keeps me quite busy. I have a daughter who just graduated college and heading to vet school in August. I have a son that's 16 who plays soccer and who's in every organization he can get in.
Do you do anything for fun?
That is fun.
Oh, well, amen.
That's the fun.
You malfunctioning.
My AirPods slipped.
Like the batteries fell out your phone.
I thought so too.
What's the best piece of advice that you would give an individual of our ages?
Oh gosh, stay young as long as you can.
Hey,
And when I say that, certainly you can't stop the clock. But what you can do is have a mindset that's always learning and growing. And I think that's important for everyone. And being hopeful, because that should be one of the hallmarks of youth, is being hopeful that things can get better, things can improve, because that gives you what you need to go on. I would say to the church all the time, that word hope, we need to stop using it so loosely, or just having a positive expectation of something better. That's what hope really is. And when you define it that way, that is, it may not be now. Hope is something even for the next second, the next minute, the next hour, the next day, the next week, and so forth and so on. It's something that you don't possess right now, because if you have it, you don't have to hope. You already have it. And so I think that's a part of youth, in my estimation, just being hopeful. And that's why seeing people who are 93 years old who are still going to college. My former work study student earned her associate's degree in college at age 76. She went on to Alabama A&M University and earned a bachelor's degree at 78. And then she decided, she earned her master's degree at age 80. Made international news, the oldest person to ever graduate from that institution. And that's one thing I always saw in her, a level of hope and optimism, and just expecting every day to be better. Now she's 85 years old this past week, and she's in the Virgin Islands working with her daughter. Her daughter took over as a director of a senior living center, and she's there assisting her daughter, her 40-something-year-old daughter. So that's powerful, and I think that gave me a really sharp view on what it would take for me to maintain that same level of youthfulness. Last thing, I have a clerk at my church years ago. She asked me about attending her mother's birthday celebration. And this lady was pretty up in years, and I was thinking, I didn't know her mother was alive. I mean, that was seriously. And so she gave me the invitation. Her mother was turning 99 years old. I went to 4 more of those. Her mother died 3 months shy of her 104th birthday.
Wow.
And for that 99th birthday, she asked her daughter she wanted a book. And the book she wanted was The Purpose-Driven Life at 99 years old. That's like, we used the book in a Bible study, and she was so fascinated by what her daughter was discussing with her that she wanted to read the book herself. So at 99 years old, she still saw that her life had purpose, and that she wanted to discover purpose. So that is powerful, and that was an example for me. And I went to visit her when she was 103. She was in the hospital for the first time in her life ever, and she was only there for 2 days and passed away. Had never been hospitalized for anything in 103 years. So I have a whole lot of reasons to hope, and so I think if I can learn from a 99-year-old, a 103-year-old, certainly from an 80-year-old who continue to pursue higher education, I think all of us can learn something from that. Just staying hopeful.
Wow.
And you're never too old to
You're
keep
never
learning.
too old to learn.
Because life moves pretty fast.
It does.
If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you can miss it.
You may wake up at 103 and not know that you lived.
Yeah. Wow.
I
That
have
was
a follow-up question about youth, and with all of us being alpha men at this table, all of the 4 of us being Spring 24 initiates, you being in the fraternity a little bit longer, what advice do you have for young people coming into some of these D9 organizations? What's up, man?
Hey, stay smooth out here. Life moves pretty fast.
Oh, I should
If
stop.
you don't stop and look around once in a while, you can miss it.
Enjoy the baseball game.
Have
What's
fun.
up?
What was that?
Okay, yeah.
But
we got
so for all these young people joining these D9 orgs in colleges and whatnot, what advice do you have for them to join for the right reasons, and also to, once you're in, continue the work? Because as we're only maybe 4 months in now, we're trying to be intentional about the way we're applying ourselves and committed to the work of Alpha specifically.
Right.
But what advice do you have for these young people joining?
Interestingly enough, I served as a chapter advisor for 7 years at the University of Alabama Kappa Alpha chapter, celebrating our 50th year this weekend, all black reunion at the University of Alabama. But one of the things I taught and tried to tell the guys there is that there are 3 things that really happen as you matriculate through this fraternal process. First and foremost, you're going to college, so you're focusing on your education and career. Once you kind of get that under wraps, you think about your significant other. You slow down and think about marriage possibly. And then when you get close to maybe 30, you start hearing about friends who may have taken ill, someone who had an accident, someone who may have passed away. So you start thinking about your destiny, your eternity. Well, those are the three major things that you're going to deal with in life. So if you're investing in something that does not feed into your career and livelihood, your relationship and family, or your mortality, you're not going to have time for it. And so the time you spend in the fraternity or your sorority, whatever you're in, it needs to be intentional. Make memories that count. Read over your ritual. Read over the intent of your founders, the intentions, not just the things that people are doing around you. Because at the end of the day, when you get older and you look back, and if your life was just another step show or stroll off or whatever you want to call it, or the next party or running around, well, when you mature and grow up and you look back, and if that's all your fraternity was, another hookup, something crazy, drunken binge or drugs or whatever, if that's all you equated to your experience, when you're at a point where you can now use funds that you have to carry out some of these things that we have as our ideals of our fraternities, you're not going to want to do that, because you will only see Alpha as something, or Omega, Kappa, Sigma, whatever it is. You'll see it as something that is adolescent, childish, and something that you put away now that you're an adult. Well, I knew that Alpha Phi Alpha was something I would grow into, that there were certain things I couldn't do when I was younger. I didn't have the finances for it. But now, as a more mature person who's had a couple of careers, financially stable, we are supposed to be what Kiwanis and Rotary and Lions have been over the years to their communities. Black communities don't have those as, they don't look to build up a black community. They're looking to the alumni chapters of fraternities. That now that you have what it is you didn't have, you need to be the one in not just doing voter awareness projects. No, you need to do something sustainable. That's who we are. One of my former chapters, I've only been in 2 alumni chapters. Previous chapter started and incorporated Sickle Cell Disease Foundation for research of sickle cell in 1986. Now this thing has been here for almost 40 years, and there are people who are working in that group that didn't know it started as a program in an alumni chapter. It has a fully employed executive director. The board used to be all fraternity brothers, but over the years we started inviting others in, and eventually they forgot that we started it. The entire board, the entire set of incorporators were all members of the chapter. That's what we should be doing. Things that will outlive us, whether they know our names or not, doesn't even matter. The work is still done. So I think that's what I would say most, to make sure the time that you're spending, build brotherhood, make fun memories. Those things are great. But at the end of the day, if you're not doing anything of substance and purpose, when you get past these college days, you're just going to remember those things. You're going to sing a song, but you're not going to show up for meetings. You're not going to pay anything. You're not going to invest in anything, because you're not going to see it as being worth it. So I really am just more than proud, and to put it mildly, at the efforts you're making now. This is a memory that will last, and I think it will produce fruit for others to see that things are possible. So congratulations to you on this tour as well.
Thank you so much for speaking with us. We know you have to run and transfer power over, or maybe try and pull a coup like someone else in the White House.
Not at all.
But we thank you so much.
Thank you, brothers. Thank you.
Thank you.